Hey, I'm April, and this is A Witchful Journey. Today, we're going to be making a scrying mirror. For those of you who don't know, this was talked about in episode 14, Scrying and Obsidian. So let's get started. I purchased my picture frame from Walmart. This is the frame itself. It's made out of metal, super cute, also super cheap, which was nice. I think it's going to look really good with the black paint. As you can see, I've already set out my stuff. The glass is clean, no smudges, no marks. This is the black gloss paint, indoor-outdoor, quick drying. So this should be great. And I'm going to mix a little bit of this in there. It's metallic. It's also indoor-outdoor. So that should have some nice little sparkle added in. I've already mixed a little bit of it here. Hopefully this will be enough. But you can kind of see that shimmer in there. And the shimmer is what I'm hoping for. So I know I explained the process of making a scrying mirror in my podcast episode, but I wanted to make a video for you guys too. So when we go to paint the first layer of paint onto the glass, we have to be really careful about making sure that there's complete coverage and trying to get as few streaks as possible, because this is the layer that's going to be facing you when you are using your scrying mirror. So I know I'm being a little wonky with my paint currently. I will fix that. But we also want to make sure that the first layer, or rather any of the layers, aren't too thick. Drying time will take a lot longer if you do thick layers, and the layers may not dry properly. So you will want to make sure that anytime you do a layer of paint for this, that you don't make it too thick. Now, like I said in the podcast episode, we want complete coverage. So I'm being really careful to make sure that I get all of the edges, all of the corners, and any imperfections in the glass. Okay, so that should be good enough for the first layer. Hopefully it'll work out, and we're going to set it aside. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Now, while we were waiting, I had this covered with just some plastic wrap. This is now completely dry, but we did have a couple of spots where it leaked and stuck, so I'll show you that. Let's see, here and here. Everything else looks good. Okay, now we are going to do the second. Now with this second layer, we want to make sure that we get full coverage. Again, we don't want anything being able to come through light-wise. So again, complete and full coverage. Layers need to be thin, yet again. And also, try to make sure that you don't leak on the sides, because it does go under the glass if you get enough leaking down the sides. So I'm going to be careful here to try to keep the very edges a little on the thinner side. but I also want to make sure that there's complete coverage. So we're just gonna gently move the paint to the edges. Oh, one other thing that I did want to say is that because this is the second layer, you don't have to be quite so picky about your strokes, your paintbrush strokes. It can be streaky as long as there's full coverage at this point so that light does not get through, then we should be good. And I've got some imperfections down at the bottom that I want to make sure get completely covered so that you can't see them. All right, that should be good. We're gonna let that dry, and it needs to be completely dry. So I'm gonna let that sit. It takes about 20 minutes and we will come back to it. Perfect. So now I think we are on layer 3. So yet again, thin layer of paint on the entire backing, full coverage, and I'm gonna try not to talk too much because I know that can get annoying. But again, because it's the third layer, it doesn't really matter what your strokes look like at this point, as long as you are making sure that there is coverage on the entire back. Oh, I should probably also mention that I did have a fan blowing across the top of my paint for the last 2 layers, and that does make drying time a little bit faster. So if you're on a little bit of a time crunch, if you have a fan that you can use, that's perfect. Just make sure that it's not just the very top layer that's dry. Make sure that it's the whole layer that's dry, which is why I give it about 20 minutes, because it takes about 15 for it to look dry and then another 5 for it to be dry enough to touch and handle more than just a little tap here and there. Okay, so layer 3 is done. I'm going to leave this to dry. I made sure that I got the corners where the chips are in the glass, and I think there were a couple of them up here too, so I made sure to get those. We're going to leave this to dry and do layer 4. Okay, so layer 3 is now completely dry, and I think I'm going to flip it over, take a look at it. It's looking pretty good. But I think we're gonna do another layer. We could leave it, but I'm gonna do one more. Just to be on the safe side. I wanna make sure that I cannot see anything coming through the black. I think there's black on the backing for this picture frame. So that will also help if there are any spots that I did happen to miss and haven't seen them yet. But just to be on the safe side, I'm doing a 4th layer. And this one's just going to be a quick one because I'm pretty sure that it is completely done and completely covered. But I do want to get those little imperfections one last time. Okay, I'm going to leave that and I'm just going to let it dry. Unfortunately, I did not use up all of the paint. There's still a little bit left, so I might see what to do with that. Okay, so for this one, I'm going to use my glue gun. This is completely dry, and the problem with this one is that it wiggles around in the frame. For reinstallation of the glass, you want to make sure the paint is facing you. The glass part that has not been painted will be on the outside. Try to make sure all of the edges are even. Now the main reason that I want to use the glue gun for this is because the glue, once it's dry, will kind of hold the glass in place so it doesn't slide around. Obviously, the glass had imperfections when I got it, so chances are the glass will shift around because it's a metal frame and it doesn't cover the entire back. Like the glass doesn't fill the entire back of the frame before you put the backing of the picture frame in. I don't have to go around and make sure that there's complete coverage of the glue. As long as the corners are done and there's plenty of support using the glue for the bottom and the sides and even the top, because chances are it's going to be stored when I'm not using it. So I want to make sure that I have enough hot glue that will eventually dry and harden to just hold it in place. If using the hot glue is something that you want to do, you are more than welcome to, obviously, because it's going to be your scrying mirror. It's not required. I'm just doing it because I'm that particular. And with it being a metal frame, I don't trust the glass to stay in place. But again, if you don't have a glue gun, that is absolutely fine. This isn't something that you have to do. It's just an extra step for the sake of precaution. So I'm going to leave this now. I'm going to let my glue dry before I put the backing on. So this is my backing. Apparently it's not black, but that's okay because it's going to be facing that way. And it'll just darken the back of the glass. So once that dries, I'm going to put the backing on. This is the final product. Thanks so much for watching. Have fun making your own. And once again, I'm April, and this is A Witchful Journey.